Hello, everyone, and welcome to another special edition of PSVG, the official podcast to play some video games and the entire PSVG podcast network as a whole. It is I, your host, Kevin, as always. But with me tonight, we want to talk a little bit about our overall experience with MomoCon at 2018. So, of course, I had to bring our Johnny on the spot, if you will. Mr. Donnie Reese, how are we doing, sir?
PSVG foreign correspondent reporting for duty.
And by foreign, he means in his own state.
That's right. About 20 miles away. Not that far.
Fair enough. So if you're a follower, if you're a listener, if you've been subscribing on YouTube, you've seen the barrage of content that has come out over the past week that Donnie worked literally blood, sweat, and tears on to get out there and deliver to you. So we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff maybe you didn't get to see or you didn't get to hear, kind of the insight, the behind the scenes story as to what exactly went down, and give Donnie an opportunity to tell more of the stories he encountered that he hasn't been able to share on the airwaves as of yet. So that's all we're doing tonight. We're not talking about what we've been playing. We're not talking about video game news. You'll hear that in the regular show. This is a special episode just talk about MomoCon. So, Donnie, before you start talking about the experience, now we know that this was your first con and you were excited to go in. Without getting into too many details, were you, I don't want to say disappointed, was it what you expected going in?
That's a good way of putting it. It's a really good question. It is what I expected it to be. I could just put it that way. I mean, I kind of had an idea. I didn't think it was as big a production as E3, and it's not. I didn't think video games would be a big part of the show, and it definitely isn't. So anybody that living in Georgia or Atlanta or thinking about traveling, like, video games very much like a sidebar. Like, even if maybe not even that. Everything else basically has a bigger presence and is more focus than video games. Cosplay, number one. If you're going to MomoCon, it's for cosplay. There are people there that hate that there are even vendor booths. Like, they're just there to dress up and talk to other people that dress up. The comic book manga section of the con is huge, and it's heavily trafficked. There's a lot of that going on. And then the competitions, which I wouldn't fall under like the reason of video games that I was there. I barely hung out in the video game competition areas, actually in a separate suite across the way. I visited and I took some pictures, and like, because I've never really seen one in person, like on a professional stage, because they had professionals, a $5,000 grand prize for the Smash winner, I think. So yeah, the video games were very much a very small part. I met most of the games that were on display my first day there in just a couple hours. So to give you any, yeah. And there were only a couple that had maybe more than one TV to play on. So,
okay. So yeah, definitely small con. I mean, we knew that going in that it was going to be a small con. We just weren't fully aware as to how small or how large it really was going to be until you got in there. So that's good to know. So going to your first day, since you brought it up, then we know day one was really kind of like the half, baby introduction into the con day, where you're going to go in, you're going to grab your passes and really start the next day is what the original plan was. So that didn't quite happen. We know that much. So what exactly happened on day one when you went to go get your press passes and stuff?
Yeah. So I was actually scheduled. We'll get into that in a little bit. I actually had a couple panels that I wanted to try and get in. Most notably on the first day, that Friday, they had a Georgia indie developers panel that I wanted to go to. Like, I wanted to see who from my state is like here being represented. I thought that'd be cool. They also had a horror video game panel, like just all these kinds of tones and themes about horror games and whatnot. So the problem was the Georgia developer one started at 4, and I couldn't get away from the office until about 4:30. So I knew I was going to be late, if at all. So I thought to myself, I'll go there. I'll get my badge, because I've been to other like professional conferences, like work conferences, and I kind of do this every time. Go get my stuff, get all registered and all that, and then walk around. So tomorrow when I come here to work, I know where I'm going, and I know where everything is.
Sure.
And that kind of spiraled out of control, because I got down to the floor and I immediately got directed to where the video games were. And I just started really kind of having a blast. Friday was cool because there wasn't as many people there.
Right.
It was probably like maybe a third of the audience that was there on Saturday. So it was easier to talk to people. It wasn't as loud. It was easier to, you know, to just have one-on-one conversations with folks and play games. I was able to just kind of play, and I was actually amazed at how fast I got through everything. I got through almost everything in the indie showcase in about 3 hours at least, you know, like in like a 10-minute play session, like maybe, you know, like just a quick grab. I did tell the Shack story where we actually met a Nintendo Shack listener, a community manager for the game Everspace, which is nuts from Rockfish Games. It was that was absolutely a nuts story, and it was a crazy story, and that put me on an incredible high. And that experience kind of, I don't know, it made me feel very comfortable, because then all of a sudden I started, hey, can I take your picture? And hey, can I go over here? And hey, what's over here? And you know, I started to, like, I guess, get into it, get acclimated. So Friday was a blast. I didn't want to leave when I ended up leaving, and I actually didn't do anything. The torture story that I have from Friday was, you know, our Twitter handle is PSVG. That's so easy, right? PSVG. Yeah. So I when I went in there, I was like, anybody we just network with, you know, I'm sure they have signups, or I'll just tell them, you know, hey, follow us, message us on PSVG. Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants a business card. It blew my mind how everybody wants a business card, because having a professional office job, I have business cards, and I hate even handing those out. I typically try to hook up with people elsewhere, like LinkedIn or something. But no, everybody's like, hey, do you have a card? Do you have a card? And I was like, oh man, because I didn't have cards.
Yeah.
So I come home. I'm about an hour from the city, so I get home about, it's like 8:45, and I called my Office Depot, and I'm like, hey, I need business cards like right away. And the cheapest that they said was like $10 for like 250 of them. And I was like, look, I know you guys close at 10. I know you guys normally do this on a 1-day notice. If I buy them right now, like this very moment, can you print me as many as you can before you leave? I won't keep you there after you're supposed to leave, and that's not what I'm asking you to do. I don't care if you can only print 30 of them. I'll buy 30 of them. Just print whatever you can, and I'll come get some. And the nice girl said, absolutely. So I had already had them designed on my computer, and I rushed to the store. I submitted my order before I left, and I get there, and she goes, the order never came through. Oh. So I'm there like 10 minutes before they close, and she's like, there's nothing I can do. So she goes, if you can do it in the store, they have a code that just like gets it directly to her. So I had to redo it on my phone. And let's just say, long story short, they weren't that great. Right. But she did get me 100 of them. So I was able at least to have something to get out the next day, which is great. But that was a lesson learned for any future cons, to make sure I've got good business cards ahead of time. So
yeah, that was my bad. We were kind of going over everything to expect in a con, and that one slipped my mind entirely, because I've only been on the side of witnessing the press dealing with different celebrities and figures, but not actually being a member of the press on one of these. So like, I didn't think of that. And I didn't see many people hand out business cards except for people who worked for the celebrities. Like, oh, here's my card if you want to try and book us for something else. Like one of those scenarios, not so much press handing it out. So that wasn't common. But once you mentioned that to me, you messaged me and said like, hey, you know, FYI. And I was like, that makes sense, but it didn't even occur to me.
You know, it was interesting. I want to say maybe it's either that it's low key, or maybe the tech in the building isn't, like the internet isn't that great, because everybody had a fishbowl like with cards, and it was like everything was very like low key in terms of presentation. You know, there weren't like big, you know, like there were no like stand lights or anything like that. There were no strobes or anything going on like that. Everything was just like a table and a TV. So but yeah, once we got them, now Caroline's designed us new cards. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. So we'll have better cards.
Yes. That definitely works. So all right, so you got tied up. You played a whole bunch of games that day one, that's awesome that you went there. I mean, knowing the Conway, that first day is always the easiest to get through. Not always is every guest or exhibitionist there at that point, that first day one, but you seem to got pretty lucky and you were able to tear through a lot of stuff. So that's awesome. So what games did you see that you absolutely love that you wanted to kind of talk a little bit about and kind of express what you experienced that you haven't been able to?
Sure. So I did play every game in the indie showcase for the most part, outside of a couple that I had known about. So like, for example, Mutant Football League was in the indie showcase. I've known about that game for a long time. It's on Xbox, It's on Steam, I think it's on PlayStation.
Yeah, Josh has it. Josh has played it. So
I didn't play that game. I was like, that one really doesn't count. Sorry, guys. The first game that I remember capturing my attention was a game called Astoria Legends. and we followed the Twitter account for it and the developer. Now this is an alpha game. I don't even know if you can find footage of it, to be honest with you. My best elevator pitch, I took pictures of it while I was playing, and I think I posted a video on our Twitter account. My elevator pitch for it is immediately think Shantae. 2D sprite, cartoony, right? Character, and then mix that with Bayonetta-esque, like button-up, smash 'em type, like boss battles, that type of stuff.
Sounds pretty cool.
And it was pretty neat. It's very stylish. The button mashing was good. We even talked because he was there. He's like, you know, I'm homegrown. I work at Tech, Georgia Tech. And he's like, you know, I'm doing this because this is what I want to do for a living. And he was like, tell me what you think. And I was like, well, you know, I didn't know half of the stuff about all the button combinations I could do until you told me, because the game didn't tell me. I was like, I'm sure when you make this game, actually, you will have some sort of tutorial to teach people that. I was like, but outside of that, I mean, actually, for it being an alpha, because you know how I feel about early access stuff. For this game, really, it was basically a build of a boss battle. But for this basically just being a slice, it was actually extremely polished. And he said he tried really hard. He told me, he's like, I didn't want people to think that it was a demo, or that it was like, you know, because it is a vertical slice, but he's like, this piece of the game is done. You know, he's like, we've done everything we can to this slice to make it ready. And I was like, you know, it started, and I'll kind of come back to this theme, because I started going down this path as I talked to all these people, interviewed them. It's really hard to be a successful video game maker.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really hard. And I'm not even saying, I'm not trying to make the statement that like all video games should be successful. It's just, as I started to talk to every one of these folks individually, I really started to understand, like, man, these people work on this thing for a year, 2 years. They've got side jobs, got, you know, and like they're banking on it. And, you know, it's sad because as a video gamer who plays so many games, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm like, nobody's ever going to see this game.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
They'll either never get discovered, or it'll never get finished, or it'll never get published. Like, there's just so many hoops. It's hard. It's really hard.
I mean, we've seen that firsthand with game developers too.
It's true, yes.
I mean, we're talking to Jeremy Alessi and Swapfire, and we know the struggles he's going through currently to make that dream a reality. Now, he had his first game come out, didn't do super well until he made it, you know, free for that while, and then it was like top of the charts on the Wii U eShops, which was awesome. But you know, now he has a concept that's even better than the original one, but now it's like he can't seem to grab that attention. And you know, he has a normal job, he has people, you know, working with him, they have normal day jobs too, and it's how much time and effort can you really commit to something when it's a side project, essentially. Like, you need to worry about the normal day-to-day stuff first, then it's like, okay, and I do this in my free time. And you're right, how do you get the attention of somebody, a bigger developer, to pick you up and you know, publish that game for you, or to invest in that? Like, how do you do that if you're only doing something part-time? You may have the best concept, but if you're unable to make a polished product to show off and win people over, it's really hard to do that. So I can imagine that that's a little rough going through that and seeing that stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, everybody kind of fell into that category outside of a couple. First, let me pause for the cause here. Can you hear my wife vacuuming? Do I need to tell her to stop?
No, I just heard your phone ding.
Okay, she is like right over my head and it's bothering me. So here's what I will tell you. Everybody on that show floor, for the most part, is chasing the Overwatch money. There is a lot. I mean, Overwatch, Overcooked. The Overcooked formula is something that a lot of the indie devs are trying to go after. I saw several Overcook-ish things. The first one that I saw that I actually really enjoyed, and I actually think if it ever got some time to cook and marinate in a publisher, I think they're onto something. It's a good formula, and it's called Mowing and Throwing. And you play as garden gnomes, where you mow the grass and you throw, I don't even remember what you throw anymore. It's like water balloons or plant seeds or something like that. So it's a turf battle. It's like Splatoon turf war, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to own the turf, but the gnomes can't walk through the grass. So you cut the grass with the lawnmower, but you throw the seeds and the grass grows back up. And it's just this chaotic 2-on-2 team battle for a turf war set in this little square. And, you know, there's like things in it that you've got to, like kids' toys and stuff that you've got to go through and whatnot. It's colorful. It's cartoony. It looks like Runner 3 or Runner 2 in style. And like I said, it's just wacky. Like, what
was the name again? Nolan what?
It's Mowing and Throwing.
Mowing and Throwing. Okay, I want to see if I can find anything on this. Mowing and Throwing. So it sounds kind of cool because you're right. It sounds like very. Oh yeah, there's actually. Oh, it's on Steam already. So, yep.
Yeah.
Let's
Yep.
here.
That was a cool game. It was cool because on the show floor, it had it had an immediate advantage that because the matches were so short and you played in groups of 2 or 4, the line moved fast and people had a lot of fun, and they came in and out. So a lot of people came back to I watched 4 or 5 matches that first day, and on Saturday I think I played 4 or 5 of my own. It was one of those things where as you walked by, you'd just hop in for a match and you'd play it and you'd shake hands and walk away again. And the people were super. And then honestly, that's another thing I should have said about the con in general. Con people, for the most part, are extremely, extremely nice.
Yeah.
I ran into a couple personalities that I think we'd all expect if we put a bunch of video gamers together. I found a few people that knew everything about everything, and I found a couple people that were just off. But for the most part, everybody was super friendly, and everybody, we were all there because we were all passionate about similar things, and everybody kind of wanted to celebrate that. And it made playing games with strangers better than it should be. It was way better than anything that I did just on, if I ever played online, just, random go at it or something like that. So, and Mowing and Throwing was one of those. That was a really good one. It was a fun game.
I'm looking at, it comes out, so it's listed on Steam right now, but it releases July 2018. So looks like it's pretty much done and just ironing some things out. But yeah, I'm watching a video right now. It does look like a lot of fun. You said very much Overcooked. The art is very cool. So it's almost like Overcooked meets Plants vs. Zombies in a way, because of the whole yard aspect. So that's pretty cool. Adam Leonard's in the chat right now. He wants to know how the body odor was out there.
There was some of that. Oh man, I took a video that I didn't post. Honestly, just because I didn't feel like it was right. But the autograph line. So the way the autographs worked was, I'll come back to the autograph line. But in the autograph line, there was a guy in full garb cosplay who brought a wheeling cooler bag thing that had amps in it, and it was just thumping techno music. And at 9 in the morning, we're all waiting, and he's sitting there, and the video I got was really good, actually. It would have been a great gift because everybody's standing still. It's early, the folks have got coffee and stuff, and he's standing there. I can't remember what he's wearing. It was like some suit of armor or whatnot, and he had a mask, and he's just sitting there, and he's just and he's not paying any attention to anybody else. He's just thumping music, and it's not like a boombox. I'm telling you, he had an amp in there, it was loud. It was like a studio speaker, something a DJ would carry. I was like, dude,
why do they even let people in there with that stuff? But yeah, I've seen it.
Turn that off. And there were more than a couple people, and that made getting audio from the show floor really hard, because you'd be sitting there talking to somebody, and somebody walks by you with some amp and just blasting music, and it just drowned everything out. So yeah, that was an interesting experience. The body odor was definitely there, especially in some of the lines. Some of the lines you get real close to folks, and you got a lot of glitter, a lot of heavy materials people are wearing. So some of that's going on. Another game that I really liked, especially from the look of it, it's called Projection. It's like a platformer. It's shadowy. It reminds me of see, I told you I was going to forget everything. You remember that? What was that PlayStation 4 launch game that played with shadows and all that? You know what I'm talking
about? Nope.
Okay,
but I'm watching the video. Projection First Light. It almost looks like Limbo. It looks like Limbo-esque.
Yes, okay. That's it. So it's this limbo-y, inside-ish, very much monochrome, black and white. It's got these. Oh, but
they're all shadow puppets because they got the little stick underneath them.
Right, and you play with the light to make the platform to jump over and whatnot. It's pretty good. Yeah. Contrast was the PlayStation 4 game.
Okay.
Contrast is more style. This is an indie game. It's more of a 2D platformer. But it was neat. That was a good one. Not with a lot of these games, nothing blew me away game wise. I didn't play anything that was The Last of Us or Uncharted there, but nothing like that was going to be there.
Sure.
So they're simple games. A game
that one's coming out Q1 2019. Looks like it's hitting Steam, Xbox One, PS4, and Switch. So it's coming everywhere. That one. So that's pretty cool.
There's a game that everybody, if you're listening to this and you just are into games, that everybody should at least look up. This is not a game for me. I played it, and I would say that the con experience is not the best way to play this. Some people would disagree with you and tell you it's the best way to play it, and that's a game called Twin Cop. This is a Josh game. I need Josh and Mo or Josh and Kyle to stream playing Twin Cop together.
Whoa, well, first off, they stole Fluxapose art color and font and everything.
I think Fluxapose stole. I've seen that so many other different places. I'm pretty sure.
No, Fluxapose was the first one.
Copyright, they own that. Yeah. So it's this, it's like it's a top-down shooter action game like Mr. Shifty, except that it's a 2-player co-op game where each player controls one arm of the cop.
Yeah, I'm looking at this now. Yeah, it looks, for those listening and not looking up, it looks like a Smash TV type game, if you remember that. But yeah, it's one cop and each person is holding one arm and shooting around. So it's a twin stick shooter, but it's 2 people playing it basically, which is crazy.
Then they have like these mini games where you have to like unlock the door or something together, and you
I'm seeing like defuse a bomb and they got to cut the orange wire, and each person is using one half of the scissors.
So in the con experience, you're just getting thrown in with somebody you have no idea who to talk to. You're probably not communicating, and this is a game that requires such. It's probably more fun than A Way Out to just throw some gamer hate down. But yeah, that's a really interesting game. That's I would say that in terms of something that sticks with me, that one is the most interesting.
It won an award this year at GDC from ID at Xbox. So
wow. So there you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's hitting Steam summer 2018. I don't see anything about any other platforms, at least not here, but it does. It does look interesting.
The Norwood Suite.
Yes,
a hashtag Kevin game.
Yes, it is.
I was playing that game for 5 minutes, and I wanted to be like, "What the are we playing? Like, what is this? What is this mess?" Weird art style, weird story, like adventure game. Just I don't know, jazz punky. I don't know. Like that's kind of the vibe I was getting. I was like, jazz punk is the game with like, it was like the game with like the sheriff and whatnot, and with the monochrome faces. Or okay, so that was the vibe I was getting. All right, so that was right there. I didn't play jazz punk, but I remember watching a review and I was like, this is what this one's reminding of. Not my favorite, and it wasn't my favorite that I played on the show floor. Check my notes and make sure I'm not missing anybody. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got 3 more. I'll just get the other one out of the way quickly. Everspace. Everspace is a game that's on Xbox Now, or PlayStation Now, Xbox soon, or Xbox Now by now. It's on PC. It's been on PC. Everspace is awesome. It's coming to Switch, and Everspace is just it's a roguelike star space shooter where you play a Star Fox Rogue Squadron type thing, and you fly around the galaxy and you shoot stuff. That's what it is, and you know, it's a really good formula when it handles well, and that game handles well, and it looks awesome. That game looks gorgeous on PS4 Pro. It looks great. It is on
Xbox Now for those looking. So PC, PS4, Xbox right now, coming to Switch.
You know, and of all the games I played, in my mind, that was the best one, and it
does look so good. It
didn't win anything, and I think it's because it's like done, you know, and has a developer and whatnot. Like I pretty much, I think all of the award winners went to like up and comers, spotlight needing folks, not a game that's already on stores. But that was like the best game.
Oh yeah, this looks amazing.
Yeah. When it comes to Switch, any Switch owner should probably buy it just to fill the void.
It looks like the Star Fox game we deserve that we don't currently have.
It was one of the first things I said to Eric when I started playing it. And I was like, man, the Star Fox feels. He's like, I know, right? It is actually really good. And then, you know me, I don't even like roguelikes. But it's pretty simple though, right? You blow up as much stuff as you can, you get as many resources as you can until you die, and then you go back to the screen, you pick a new ship, and you use all that stuff you got to make that ship better, and you go and continue the fight. Yeah, it's not that bad. You remember I told you everybody's after that Overcooked money?
Yeah.
Let me put your attention to a game called Cosmos Quick Stop. And that is definitely an Overwatch-esque game. He had one of the best elevator pitches. It's a fast-paced game of interstellar gas station management.
Coming 2018. Yeah, this. Huh.
You know, I'm not even certain if he was there with his wife. He was there with a girl. She's at least his development partner. I want to say they were husband and wife, maybe brother and sister. I don't know. I didn't ask, but they were really cute together, and I got to play their game. And they did an interview, and they answered all of our questions. It's an interesting game. It is overcooked, except instead of cooking stuff, you just have like, so you're in a space station. The space station has all these bays that people can dock to all around you, and as people dock, they need things like they need oxygen, they need fuel. Somebody tears up the bathroom, you got to go clean it, and you got to like fix the vending machine, and you got mutants run around, and you just got to keep doing it. It's constantly all these bells and whistles are going off, and you constantly have to do it. I did let them know the control scheme wasn't my favorite. I don't think it was communicated to the player like in the demo how to control, and then even some of the controls I just didn't think were intuitive. I was one of those players, as somebody who's played a lot of video games, I'm sure you understand. There are sometimes you play a video game where you assume that the control is something. You've either played a bajillion games that do that, or it's natural. It's like, this is how this should be. And that game was not that, and it stuck out to me. I was like, you should map this to this button because that's how it feels. Like, you know, this and this other game does it like this, and maybe you should think about doing that too, which I'm pretty sure they didn't like hearing. They're like, this is my game. I'll make it how I want. No,
yeah. I mean, the art is pretty cool. Like it looks very fun, and you're right. They are husband and wife.
Okay.
Ian and Aaron.
Yep.
And there's one other person. It's a very small development team. Big Sur Games. Looks like it's 3 people and their cats.
They drove
from
Chicago, I think.
Ooh. Wow.
I think, yeah, it was either Indiana or Illinois, I think, to do MomoCon. And they were there all day for 3 days, and they let everybody play it. That was an interesting little game.
Putting their hustle in.
Cool. They're trying, man. That was one of those folks I was telling, you know, just talking to them about like the landscape of games. And, you know, they were like, this is our 8th con this year, and we're hoping to get to Canada. Like, these people are, all of these folks. I mean, these folks didn't just show up from Atlanta and like, you know, turn on a system. These folks, this is their life. You know, they put everything they have into this. So
yeah, I mean, and they're hitting every con. It looks like they were at PAX, they were at Chicago, there was a con in Chicago. They obviously were at MomoCon. So yeah, I mean, they're putting their all in this game, which is, you know what, good for them. They're doing everything they can to try and make it happen.
They're trying. They got the hustle grind on hard. Another game that is out now that you can play. It's on Xbox, it's on Windows, it's on mobile, and it's on Steam, and it's called Samsara. And it also came with this awesome little comic book they made for the con.
Oh, I've heard of this one. Okay, yeah.
Samsara is gorgeous. One of the prettier games from MomoCon. Built on Unity, has that Unity art style. Looks like Rayman Legends or something like that.
Yep.
And it's an interesting game. It's a puzzler, but it's not a puzzler in the sense, not a puzzle platformer. What you do is you're presented with a challenge. You have a light side and a dark side, and you can flip them with the click of a button. And that's kind of neat, actually. You click through it. And you set up the boxes and whatnot, and then you basically execute the command. And you execute the command, and your characters start moving along the path you've set up. And if you screw up, they die. And if you don't, they both get to the portal, and that's what you try to do. There are 77 of these levels in the game. I want to say I think it's $14.99 for Xbox. But that's off of pure memory. That was over a week ago. I want to say it's $14.99 for Xbox.
It is. Yep, $14.99.
And that's gives you everything the game has to offer. If you want to get it on mobile, I think they give you the first realm free, and then you pay like $7.99 or something to get the rest of it.
Yeah, it does look cool. It looks like so like you said, it has the platformer. It looks like a Rayman type thing, but it looks like it's a person on top and then a person in the mirror image below. So it's almost like a
shadowy.
Yeah, it's like a Stranger Things, like the Upside Down. Kind of go more dark on the bottom and then the colorful nesses on the top type deal.
Kind of, yeah, not unlike that. And it looks really good. The guy was super nice. You know, another thing that I feel bad for mentioning this just specifically about him, but another thing that I realized is I often think with social media and how well things are presented to us as gamers, I think we may, or at least, you know, I'm gonna stop saying we. I think I may have underestimated how unprepared developers are to talk about their game to the masses, and like the role of a good communications director.
Yeah, the PR person versus a developer out there on the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there were several times when I was either asked questions to provide feedback about a game, or I was asking questions to pull information out of a game, and it was not that it was bad. Nothing was bad. Everybody was super friendly, but I definitely noticed like a lack of polish, or at least a lack of like having the right notes. I noticed in several cases that like if somebody brought their wife or their partner, that like maybe they would hop in and get in like the quick hits. You know, it's just you notice there's press speak. And then there's dev speak. You're talking to a developer. He's talking about like how hard it was to make like, you know, this thing move. And it's like as a gamer, as a player, honestly, a lot of people don't really care. You know, like they want to like, you know, how many levels on it? How long does it take? You know, like bullet, you know, high marks. And he was definitely one of them. You could tell he doesn't talk to the public much.
Yeah.
But he answered all of our questions. He was really good. To share a con story, if I get off of just talking about video games for a moment, I did witness one thing that it really bothered me. And he and I talked about it a little bit, and he told me he appreciated it. I was waiting in line to play Samsara when I saw two other press members. These press guys I never saw for the rest of the week, so I'm not sure like what they were doing.
Yeah,
and we can talk about the press part of it. But they demoed his game, and they didn't play it. He played it. They didn't like want to play it. They like made him play it, and then they watched, and then they like basically just stopped watching. And because there's no like lines, you know, like, so I'm basically standing over their shoulder. Yeah. One of them was just like Instagramming, and one of them was like, one of them tweeted, "There's too many puzzle games at MomoCon." Oh, and I was just like, this is really, it bothered me, because not only was I ecstatic to have been invited, you know, I'm sure if anybody's followed our blog this week have seen, I really tried hard. Like I tried my best to like do it the right way, you know, like not make a fool of ourselves. And there were a couple of times I did, but I tried hard not to. And I could imagine a lot of our Podern family would treat the situation the same way. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of folks that we talk to, guests that we've had on the show, you know, listeners of our show, that would die to cover an E3. Like that they would just be in heaven, and they would do everything they could to do it and do it right. And just to see somebody just, you know, maybe they were just having a bad day. I don't know. I don't even know who they are. So that's why I don't
they could have been press that had nothing to do with video games, and just it's
true.
And we've talked about that so many times about, you know, like when we were going really hard on like reviewing games and trying to get as many done as possible, like sometimes we'd have the wrong person reviewing a game, and it might not have been a bad game. It's just that game's not for that person. So they probably shouldn't be the one talking about it. And maybe, you know, it could have been a situation like that, but you're right. It's disheartening when there's so many people who want that opportunity that don't get it.
Yeah.
And then to see somebody else squander it like that with just, you know, the negativity and being like, you know, like I'm sure there's games you played that you're like, hey, this is okay. Yeah. You would never be like, you suck, because guess what, Donnie,
I would
you can't do it. So you know,
no, I would play it. And I did. It was funny because the reason I bring up the story, what makes it a story, I guess, is that's how he and I got started talking. I sit down, he starts playing. I'm like, because at first I was like, are we not allowed to play? And he's like, no, you can play. And he was like, but they didn't. I was like, I'm not with them. It's like, no, I would like to play the game. Tell me about your game. You know, I was like, my name's Donnie. What's your name? And I can't remember his name now. We did an interview. I think it's Frank. And he goes, yeah. And I was like, so where are you from? And it's New Zealand. And I was like, how big's your studio? And I started, and you could tell, and this will be a recurring theme that we'll come back to, but he told me, he was like, you're the only one asking these questions. And I can't tell you how many times I got told by like the Quick Stop, these folks, Cosmos Quick Stop, you're the only person here doing interviews. Eric, you're the only person here recording. Samsara, Frank, you're the only ones asking these questions all day. And I don't mean to, I definitely, anyone that's listening to the show, please, I'm not trying to sound like I, you know, was doing something better than anybody else. I'm bringing it up because I was shocked that I kind of felt like I was in the minority of the people that were doing it.
Yes. I mean, when you're there as press, your job is to cover the material, not just to walk around, try a game, never talk to the person, walk away like that. People who are attending the con can do that if they so choose. But as a member of the quote unquote press, like it is your responsibility, because you're labeled as press, to do it some sort of justice and do your due diligence. I'm in full agreement with you. It makes no sense to do anything less.
Yeah, so when I was working with Renee, one of the things she'd mentioned was how prepared I was, and I was like, "Well, I'm here because I'm here to give you coverage.
Right.
Like I'm here to get people looking at your event. That's why you gave me this pass, right?" And she's like, "Yeah, I am." And she's just like, "Not everybody does that." And I was like, "How does that? Everybody should be required to do that, no?"
I would think so.
You would think so.
Or either that, or you make sure they're definitely stricken from the list for next year. Like, well, these guys aren't coming back. Like I don't know.
When we get into the interview part, there were tons of press there. So like the names had press, and there were actually some. I met a couple podcasts, one in Athens that was great, and they told me that they got a Comic-Con invite last year that they only gave them one pass, and they said, "Show us what you'll do with it, and then we'll let you know if you can come to MomoCon." So there was some of that going on. Maybe we just didn't qualify. So
fair enough. All right. So does that cover all the games you want to talk about?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about some of the fun stuff now. So you got a chance to meet and get some autographs and some photos with some folks there. And I don't think I've ever seen you so happy, literally ever. So let's talk about some of the people you met at the con.
Can we take a minute? I've been actually wanting to do this. I've been saving it as much as I can in the chat. Can we take a moment and just talk about Gochi Suda 51?
Yes, please.
Because here's the thing. There isn't many games that Kevin and I share an agreeing opinion on or a passion. There are not many styles of games, developers of games. There's a lot of time you and I are opposed to one another. Like, I don't think your favorite Zelda game is not my favorite Zelda game. One of my favorite Mario games you hate. Like, we're just not there together. And when it was announced about a week before, and I showed up in the chat, and I was like, "Oh my God, Suda 51 is coming." You were like, "What?"
Yes. I was like, "You never see him."
And it kind of dawned on me because we haven't had a Suda 51 game that in PSVG's small existence, we've never had the opportunity to talk about it. So let's get some of the fun stuff out of the way. By the way, everybody that listens to the show, Suda 51 is not Wario 64. The Wario 64 Twitter account has a picture of Suda. And when I feel bad because I tweeted, "Hey everybody, I'm hanging out with Wario 64," and I tagged him. That was a joke,
right?
That I don't know how many people got, but I won't drop any names. But let's just say I got more than 10 people asked me what it was like to meet Wario 64, and that was a little weird. Only because, and this is, I really want to talk to you about this. Only because I've long considered myself a fan of Suda 51 games. Now, having been at his press interview, I now question my own fandom because there are fans of Suda 51 that I could not possibly qualify myself as. But, not that any one fan is better than the other fan. It was just something that I definitely noticed.
Yeah.
Hi, Jack. Good night. That said, he just completely threw me off my game.
You were not the biggest fan in the room for Suda.
Yeah, there were people that people that were there to interview him about his anime development.
Yeah, because his movies and his anime stuff that would take you out of the realm.
And,
there for sure.
And I didn't do any of that. And there were people there that interviewed him in Japanese, not like Japanese people, not even people from Japan, Americans that just interviewed him in Japanese. There are people that knew about like cross things, like, and I've often, you've heard me say this before. I often feel like sometimes we get too close to developers and it kind of builds that fanboyism that you just get like a brand loyalty. My thing with Suda is just his games. Like my only real tie to him are the video games that he's made that I've played that I've enjoyed. And, this kind of came up in the Discord this week because when I made the joke about the Wario 64 stuff, Devin, I think rightfully so, reminded us that Suda 51 is not he's not a household name in video gaming. He's a niche guy. Yeah,
he definitely is. He's not a Miyamoto. He's not a Kojima.
Right. Exactly. And I do think maybe if I could, the way that I kind of thought about it in my head is we probably share the affinity for Suda because we're both Nintendo fans, and Suda is kind of Nintendo's Kojima. And there's a lot of parallels. They're both wacky, weird dudes. Like they wacky, weird stuff. Suda makes way wackier, weirder stuff than Kojima, but they're both way, way out there. I also think there's probably something there because, you know, Suda he's done stuff with like Mikami, right? And like, you know, Resident Evil and all that stuff. Like they all kind of come from the same era, the same thing. So like my introduction to Suda really comes from my following video games, like Game Informer and stuff like that, and then learning about him. And then like my affinity for games like Clock Tower, which is like from Human Entertainment, and Fire Pro Wrestling, which is from Human Entertainment, where he got started. Now I did have a story that I wanted to share. My first real introduction to like Suda, who Suda was, came from my cousin whose name was Susan. And Susie is about 13 or 15 years older than me. And when I lived with my aunt, she lived next door, and I would go to her house because she was kind of like, she was like the I don't know, the grunge anti-hero. She was the cool cousin that I had, and I kind of looked up to her, and I was a little young. She had a PlayStation that played Japanese games, and this is how I was introduced to games like Suikoden and Final Fantasy, and I would watch her play them. I never played them, but I would watch her play them and her boyfriend, and they were just like super cool. They wore metal beads and they had like heavy metal shirts. They were, you know, it was just like this experience that I had as like a preteen, you know, that I had never really met anybody that were doing things like this. So they were, I would say they were very influential, you know, long story short. And they introduced me to a game called The Silver Case, and I watched them play it, which is like this noir adventure game. It's not even, I don't even know if it's a good game. Like if I would tell other, I don't even know if I'd recommend it. But it's crazy. It's this crazy style. And they were like, let me tell you about, you know, Suda. And, you know, I remember like reading magazine articles about Suda. And then when I started to like start forming my own opinions of games, and when I got a GameCube, right, with the Capcom, was it the Capcom 5 that became the 4, right? And Killer 7. And that was like my first, and I was like, dude, Killer 7 is awesome. It's this grindhouse Tarantino assassin killer game. It's got these awesome art style. It looks amazing. And back on the GameCube, it blew games away. Like it, Joe looked awesome. And those art styles are so good that it still looks good today, even, you know, not remastered. And we have the remaster on the way. And like, that's exciting. And then as mentioning that Nintendo appeal that we both have, I remember following Suda like in Game Informer and, you know, on websites. What was the game that he did? Oh, come on. He did a Fatal Frame game for Wii in Japan. And I remember on forums, because this is like 2007, so I just got out of high school. So this is me in forums, and I'm like, oh, it's totally going to come over here. The other Fatal Frame game, I can't wait, Suda, and it never came.
No.
So like, anyway, what I'm trying to say is Suda's a cool character. And I guess I get a lot of that from pulp culture because, you know, watching IGN, watching GameStop, you know, he'd come by and they'd be like, guys, Suda's in the house. So I already had like this impression like, oh man, he's a big deal. So I started following his games like that, especially the Nintendo thing. No More Heroes, man. I was there day 1, No More Heroes. And I was there day 2, No More Heroes 2. Like I was there first day for both those games. And I love Travis Touchdown, the character. Now in the interview, there were people talking about Travis Touchdown's, you know, motivations as a character and the themes of, I'm not that. I in his interview, let's just say I felt inadequate. I was like, man, I don't like this guy nearly as much as some other people do. But it was amazing to have met him. And then, you know, a lot of people know him from Lollipop Chainsaw.
Right.
And, you know, and he did announce that Killer 7's getting remastered on Steam coming this fall. I will tell you, if you haven't watched or listened to our interview with Suda, he said Switch no less than 50 times. The dude was saying Switch every moment he could get. He was talking about how he had dev kits when it was the NX, how Nintendo brought him in. Nintendo sought out Suda and said, no, we need you on the launch of this system. Please bring back Travis Touchdown. That's why we have Travis Strikes Again. Like they want it. And I think that means a lot to him. From listening to his interviews and the MomoCon press conference, you can tell he gets excited when he talks about it. His face kind of lights up. And I can't wait because Killer 7's going to come. I asked him about the silver case. For those that may not know, it was ported to PlayStation 4 at HD. I asked him if it would come to Switch. He said he'd love to bring it to Switch. So that might be another one that's coming. And Kevin, just for this interview, I bought Shadows of the Damned on Xbox One backwards compatibility.
Oh, I was wondering what that was.
So if you want to go play that game, it is in your library. Have you ever played that game?
No, that one I have not.
So that's all right. So Shadows of the Damned is not good.
I don't care. I'm gonna play it.
But it's Shinji Mikami and Suda together. So they did this game together. Suda wrote it. I
remember the box art. Okay, I'm looking at the box art right now. Okay.
It's a Shinji game like style. So you played The Evil Within, right?
Yep.
That's Mikami's game.
Yep.
There's a lot of Resident Evil and The Evil within this style. Like it's an over-the-shoulder shooter, and then it's got everything that I think gamers in today's culture hate about video games. Yep. Over-sexualized characters, blood and gore, ridiculous lines, dumb stuff, but I was feeling, I don't know, I was feeling nostalgic. I wanted to try it. What I did is I went to Xbox and I was like, I wonder if any of his games are backwards compatibility. Yeah. I was actually in the mood for Lollipop. I was like, maybe I haven't played Lollipop because I was thinking to myself, I haven't played a Suda game since No More Heroes 2. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
And so I wanted to get Lollipop Chainsaw is not up there, but Killer's Dead is backwards compatible.
Oh, okay.
So I may look for a cheap copy of that, like a used, or if it goes on sale soon or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did get to meet him. Sorry for this. I thought the story would be fun because we never get to like just geek out together, and we don't really have a whole lot of stuff to do it. No, and I honestly don't think people realize who Suda 51 is. I mean, obviously, people are asking if he's Wario 64. Suda's a legend, and even his games are not the mass appeal success stories that like Kojima has, or Miyamoto, or Tezuka, but his style and his impact on games, I think, have been like pulled from an influential, like, all right, for example, Killer 7. You look at that art style and you see shades of that in Wind Waker, and you see shades of that in Persona 5.
Yep, totally.
Like all of that's all Suda. Like that stuff is all like him, and like his style. I go back to Clock Tower. I love that series so much. He was there at Human Entertainment, like point and click adventure games. I know like he wasn't the only one that did it, but a lot of the indie styles like Detention and the Coma and these things that I like, Telltale, a lot of that it's the same formula. It's good storytelling built around a point and click thing. And he kind of did that, back in the day and made it very popular. Yep. So that type of stuff, I've always been a fan of. But I did get I got a Switch case autographed. I got a blank Switch case autograph so I can put my Travis Strikes Again art inside of it. You and I had debated on what to get signed. The first person that came, guess what they signed? A Switch. I wanted to get him to sign my Switch, and Kevin was like, don't do that. It's going to fade. It's not going to work. And man, the first person walked over there, pulled a Switch. I was like, oh, I should have done it. But my best story of the con, honestly, is this. Because Kevin, you saw the pictures. I don't want to over sensationalize because I know I do that quite a bit. I kind of teared up when I met Suda 51, and it's not because I'm a fan that was like overcome with emotion. It's what happened at the moment. So I was third in line. The autographs are forever. So I wanted to get back to the autographs. So the way this works is the con opens at 9:30. The exhibition or the exhibit floor doesn't open until 10. Yep. Everybody lines up to get into the exhibit hall. So the line is no joke, 3,000-4,000 people deep, an hour and a half before the show floor opens. And press have to wait in that line. Yeah. Now, lucky for me, I've got some friends that work for the facility, and I was like, I need to get down to the floor and not in this line. And I was able to make that happen. I wasn't down on the exhibit hall. It's not like I was just cutting in front of people. I just needed to bypass that giant long wait of line. So when they opened the exhibit hall, I was able to get pretty good on the autograph. So what they do is they do an autograph ticket system. Everybody waits in line to get tickets, and you get a ticket to whoever you want, and if you show up with a ticket, you're guaranteed an autograph. And if the tickets are out, then you're out. So he was the only one that I got. My plan for Saturday was to get all of my personal stuff out of the way so I could do all my stuff, like all my work stuff. So anyway, long story short, get up to the line. He walks out. Super friendly. Like, he's super friendly. Of all the people I met, he's by far the most friendly. Like you can just tell he's a very kind person. He's very happy and excited that you're excited to meet him. He didn't charge for his autographs, which I couldn't believe.
That's crazy. That's crazy. When you told me that, I was unbelievable.
I was told he never does. They're like, no, he never does that. He would never do that. And I was like, that's amazing. What an awesome thing to do. I walk up to the line. He has a translator. Doesn't speak English very well. And I'm just like, oh my God, Suda. I'm just like, I'm so happy to meet you right now. I'm like totally geeking out. And at this point I have my composure. I'm cool. I got it. I'm like, this is great. I'm so happy to be here. And his translator goes, what would you like him to like write your name? Like, do you want him to make this out to somebody? I was like, oh man, he'll do that. That's cool. Cause it was like, I'm like, he's got other things to do. And he's not going to personalize all this stuff. So he starts spelling out my name. He goes D, and Suda goes D, and Suda goes O. Suda goes N. And when he gets to the end, he writes 51 on the end of it, and he looks at it. He holds like if I could recreate it for anybody watching us a video, he goes, oh, and he looks up and he goes, Donnie-san! And everybody behind me screams it too. And I'm just like, I don't know what happened at that moment. I don't know what happened. I was just like, oh my God. I was like, I don't even know what to do right now. He just screamed my name, and everybody's screaming my name. And like even now, I'm trying to remember it. And I'm like, oh, it was. I can't even explain it. It was just I don't know, man. It was just like an emotional moment, like because it was like he went out of his way to like make somebody happy, and like when you see it on his face, like he was like, do you want a picture? And I was like, we get pictures too. And like, so I get up to take a picture, and he like grabs me and pulls me. He's like, oh, I'm just like, dude, this is the nicest guy. For somebody that doesn't have to be, that I've ever met. And I think, I don't know, I just think that situation, that environment, everybody's smiling. Like I 360 degrees, I saw nothing but smiles and happiness. I don't know, it just did something to me. Like I had to walk away for like 5 minutes, and I was chatting in our Discord. I was like, I don't know what happened. Like I gotta sit down for a minute and collect myself because it was overwhelming.
But yeah, if you haven't seen the photo, go on Donnie's Twitter there at Playing Nintendo, 8 no G's and Playing Nintendo, and look at his profile picture, and it is the greatest picture ever. But yeah, you can see the absolute joy, not only in Donnie, but like you said, in Suda. Like you can tell he genuinely likes making other people happy.
He was 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
and he's on Japan time, like it was.
That's true too. Yeah,
it was crazy. And I would say this about the other guests. Like the other guests, every guest was great, but you could tell like some guests were going through the motions. Some guests do this, like some guests were just, getting their job done, and not Suda. Like he genuinely wasn't that. And I don't know, that did something to me. It was awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. So, all right. So you met Suda.
Yep.
You also met a couple other people there too that recorded some things for us too. So why don't you talk about those experiences? I know they probably can't live up to Suda's, but
I got to meet Troy Baker, Nolan North. I did have them try to do some voiceovers for us. The audio is not good, so I'm not sure how many of them we'll be able to use. It cost me a lot of money, but because they don't do anything for free. Let's just say that they are very high price stuff. They were charging $50 for autographs, $50 for voiceovers, $50 for pictures. So if you wanted a picture, an autograph, and a voiceover, you're running $150 a pop. Just for anybody that wants to know, like I have no problem. Hey, get your money. Like I no problem. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like if you ever see them, just be prepared. I did get them both to autograph my Last of Us American Dreams exclusive hardbound cover. So that makes me 3. I have 3 of the 4 that I want. I've got Neil. Got Troy, got Nolan. I just need Ashley. And I asked Troy, I was like, hey, I really need Troy's, or I was like, I really need Ashley. He was like, good luck. He's like, I would like to see Ashley when we're not working. He's like, I can't even get Ashley. That was pretty cool. Troy is very nice, like very nice, very kind, like nice, friendly, like just I love like a loving person. Nolan is just Nathan Drake. Like, that is such a typecast. He's just a smart ass, and he's just like funny quips at every turn, and he makes a joke out of everything, and the entire time he's making fun of Troy, like he's just Nathan Drake.
Nice.
Is that character. I want to say this because I think it's important because people normally don't get to meet these folks and any access. But I want to preface that I'm not trying to make it sound like it's a bad thing. I understand like what they have to go through. Those two are on a clock.
Yeah,
like, they're there for 30 minutes and not a minute more, and you can tell. And like they're like they check their clock even like during the interview. Like they check their wristwatch 8 or 9 times, and like when time's up, time's up. I'm not sure if they got to go or whatnot. They have other things to do. I mean, they were there for all 3 days, but not every guest was like that. But again, they were the show, so like they drew a crowd. So I understand. But it was apparent, and I just it's an observation that other folks may not make. Interviewing them was amazing. Interviewing them was amazing for several different reasons. One, just I got to talk to. I mean, I've got all this Last of Us stuff behind me. Everybody in PSVG knows The Last of Us is the only reason I have a PlayStation. I mean, I love all kinds of stuff about PlayStation, but The Last of Us is the reason I have one. Let's be real. I have one for one game, and just getting to talk to them about that stuff was good. I think I asked really good questions. That was the hard part. The hard part was I didn't want to walk in there and be like, "Hey, what's your favorite video game?" Like I was, and because you helped me make the questions, I was very concerned. I was like, I want to ask something that somebody would want to hear. I've struggled with that, and I thought I asked them. I thought I did that one well.
Yes, I agree.
The press conference was, I want to say, kind of a mess, and I hope that doesn't make our MomoCon folks angry. Let's just say it's a little like wild, or a little just lacked rules. There was really no structure. So the way they set it up was they would schedule people to come in, and you could just be there. And if you were there, you could ask some questions. If you weren't, you weren't. So the first day I started watching, and there was like nobody there, which was awesome because if you wanted to talk to somebody, it was cool. But I started asking on the third day, I was like, how many press badges do you have out? Like, how many people can fit in here? Because they only had like 12 chairs, Kevin. It was small.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was like there's like 3 rows of 4 in front of the interviewer, and they were like, "Oh no, we can fit in here." We don't. And I was like, "But how many press badges you got?" Because, like I said, I've been around the con for 2 days. I saw the badges. I saw a lot of people. I saw 12. I was like, "How many people are actually here with badges? How many of the badges you hand out?" They would never give me a number. Now, I used to recruit for ESPN high school football players.
Right.
And a part of my recruiting job was getting tape. I did that for 6 years. I know what it's like to struggle for a shot.
Yeah.
That was going through my head the entire day Sunday. I was like, I got to get that shot. I'm so bad. Like, this is such an opportunity for me, like just personally, because I'm such a big fan of both these guys, for the blog, because it's probably never going to happen again. And, like it was such a big opportunity. I was like, I got to get that shot. So I told you, and I told Caroline, we went to lunch. I was like, I'm going to go camp out in that spot.
Yeah.
And like, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm afraid that like when Troy and them roll in, there's going to be 80 people in the room, and I'm going to be all the way in the back, and I'm going to have a shot of like a bunch of hands and cameras, and it's going to be awful.
Yeah.
So I went and camped out at 1 o'clock. They were scheduled to come through at 4:30, and I went and sat front row center. And I didn't move. And I interviewed everybody that came through, whether I wanted to use it or not. I acted like I knew what I was doing. I acted like I knew who they were, because people would shuffle in and out, and if you weren't doing anything, they'd ask you to leave or move, like, hey, you're not really here for anybody. Like, once you let these other people get in front of you. And I sat there the entire time. And I was even honest about it. I told Renee, I was like, I'm here for 4:30. I was like, I'm going to be right here for 4:30, but I will give everybody the college try. And it was great. I met a YouTuber. I don't remember her name. She's got like 3.5 million followers. She does voiceovers of anime, makes 24 grand a month doing YouTube. We're doing YouTube wrong, Kevin.
Yeah, apparently. I'm not getting any of that. So.
But anyway, then when they finally came in, it was genius, because I sent you the pictures. You've seen them, and maybe we'll post the pictures with this blog story. About an hour and a half. So like they came through 4:30. I was there at like 1. So maybe around 3-ish, people started to come in. And not just like people with passes with blogs. Like the AJC came in. The Patch came in. Reporters, news sites came in. The Gwinnett Daily came in. And they came in with 2 cameras, a light fixture, a boom mic. Like they came in with legit stuff.
Right.
And I have pictures of them setting up all around me. Let's just everybody all around. Both was what you, if you guys saw the interview, what you don't know is that over both of my shoulders is a camera, and like I really can't move my head because I'll be in the way. And they hated me for it. They were super upset that I sat there. They even asked me to move, and I refused. I was like, no, I'm part of the press too. I have the right to this spot as you do, and I've been here all day because this is what I'm here for. I'm here to get this shot because like I said, the former scout of me knew that when they answered questions, if they looked right at us, like that means everything for the video.
Yep, totally.
You know, and I got question number 1 because I was front row center.
Yep.
And they look right at me, and it looks like a conversation.
Yes.
And I just thought it was awesome. And I hope other people appreciate, maybe, you know, not that me sitting there for 3 hours is worth anything, but, you know, it was just, I went out of my way to try and get that shot. I was like, I got to get that shot. And I was really happy when I did. And I remember when I posted you remember when I posted a picture, I snapped a real quick photo while they were getting ready. And Devin was like, what in the, how are you this close? It's like, I've been sitting here all day for this one opportunity. And that was a really good conversation, just to sit down and hang out with those guys. But like I said, they're on the clock. Yeah, so like, man, when the 30-minute hit, they were like, we got to go. And they were one of the, they didn't take pictures. Like everybody that came through the press row took pictures, and they were out. And then they rolled deep too. They came with police. Like they
wow. Okay.
Yeah, they were escorted. They rolled like 6 people. They had their own MC. So like there was a girl in the press conference that was like basically picking and choosing who gets to do questions. And then when they came in, they had their own guy. It's like, geez.
Alrighty then.
Professionals. Hashtag professionals used to us.
I guess so.
They were also supposed to they're supposed to be separate, and they did everything together. Like they were supposed to have separate autograph sessions, separate interviews, separate anything, everything in tandem. So
gotta roll with your homies. You know?
That's
just
true.
like probably makes it. I mean, if you travel and you do this a lot, which I imagine, well, actually, I know that they do when they're not working actively on a voiceover and like that. That having somebody else there, I guess, probably it's got to make it easier to travel. And
the thing that you missed, and I'll try to get you a shot of it because my wife has it on her phone, but unfortunately her camera is not nearly as good as mine, was during my interview with Suda, she was at a reading of Beauty and the Beast where Troy Baker, Nolan North, Jen Cohn, and the other Overwatch girl, and I apologize, I don't remember her name, Japanese lady, they read, I mean, I feel bad saying that, but I mean, like, I don't know any other way to just describe her. I'm not an Overwatch fan. Kyle knows.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kyle. I'll look it up real quick before we get out of here. They were doing a voiceover of Beauty and the Beast, and they did it like in all these different characters. So like one of them
I saw part of it. Your wife posted part of it on Facebook. So I did see a little bit on Facebook.
Like they did it in Family Guy voices, and then just all kinds of weird stuff, like Bob's Burger voices. And she said that they kept doing it on the fly, and they made Troy's Bell for part of it. Like he was playing the girl character. Like all of the stuff they were saying that I was getting from my kids and her, like they seemed like they were having a blast.
Fun, right?
It looked like a lot of fun. So they were the stars of the show, and we knew that, and we knew that on the guest list. They were the they were the highlights. There were so many people that were there for them. You know, interesting factoid about getting their autographs, especially with Troy. Troy to me is Joel, and like I know he's Sam, and I know he's Delson, but Troy to me is Joel, and I was there as a Last of Us fan. Dude, there was like one of 3 people there as a Last of Us fan, and like a crowd of like 500. Troy Baker is everything. Yeah. There are box arts of anime and cartoon series and movies and comics and all kinds of stuff that I had no idea that Troy Baker does.
He's got quite the IMDb. Quite the IMDb. Man.
Like, honestly, I mentioned earlier, video games were such a small part of it.
Right.
There were like 6 of us that even had video games. We were all like looking at each other like, what are all these people doing here? You're in the wrong line.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, he's muy famous.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, so we're running a little longer than normal, which isn't a big deal. But is there any other stories of note you wanted to talk about before we kind of move on towards the closing moments?
Meeting Kyle Hebert was an eye-opening moment. He did a little Shaq recording, a bumper for us, which was awesome. Here's the interesting thing about him. I had no idea who he was.
No, yeah, I wouldn't either.
And all of the DBZ characters were there, and that was a huge thing. Apparently, from what I'm told,
Sure,
they all don't show up together. Yeah, I don't know, but like Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Kyle Bear's Gohan, Chi-Chi, Master Roshi, they were all there. So there were people that I got to meet that were like, "Here's my Dragon Ball Z fighters, and I'm gonna get everybody to sign it." And they had like 30 autographs all over.
Oh
yeah. So it was cool. So he comes in, and I knew he's Gohan because that's in the press book, right?
Sure,
Gohan.
right.
He's Gohan, and I know Dragon Ball Z. I'm like, that's cool. It's Gohan. That's not really what I'm here for, but I'll interview him anyway because I'm sitting here. He's one of the people I'm camping out for, So he just rolls through, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm Gohan, and I'm something else on Naruto and everything." And he goes, "And I'm Frederick and Fire Emblem." And I'm like, "What?" Like my head immediately picks up. Excuse me, Frederick and Fire Emblem, and obviously everybody that was interviewing had nothing but DBZ characters.
Oh, of course.
Saw the video thing. One of the press members came dressed up as Cell.
Yeah.
Asked him if he thought he could beat him again. Like it was like I'm telling you, the presser was a little wacky, man. It was a little out there.
Yeah.
But I was able to get in a Fire Emblem question or two, which I think through all of the
they're like, wait, what?
The stares that I was getting from everybody in the room, like, shut up about the Nintendo game.
How dare you?
But he was entertaining. He was very open and honest, which I appreciated. He was just like, especially about the business. So was Jen Cohn from Overwatch. Like, she was too. She was like, look, this is hard. And it's not only hard because you have to be good. She's like, it's getting harder to make a living. She's, she was really, and Doug Cockle, the voice of Geralt from The Witcher, he kind of echoed her statements. They were like, you don't really understand this market, this voice acting market is shrinking. There's so many people that want to do it. And there's so many people that will do it for free or next to nothing just to do it. But there's really no incentive. You got to be amazing. You've got to be Troy Baker that you can command, your time. My time is worth this to you because I'm the best in the biz. If you're not at that level, then like you're losing time to like celebrities that are coming in, John Hamm and stuff like this coming in doing voiceovers. Yeah, they were like, it's not really our main job. Like it's becoming more and more like our secondary job. We have other things to do, which I thought was very interesting because, I think a lot of people look at that and like, I would love to do that,
Nathan.
Yeah, Nathan.
He's also
like,
trying to do stuff.
You start hearing about it and you're like, man, that sounds really, really hard. So he was very open and honest about that. And he was just like, Kyle Hebert just had like a really cool vibe. You could tell he was comfortable with the room, comfortable with the con, just super open and honest. There was no press speak with him, and there was no like fabrication.
Sure.
It was just
he was genuine guy.
Great shooter, and you could tell instantly. And I like picked up on it, and I was like, actually, his interview is probably my favorite of all the ones.
I'd say listening back, you could tell he commands the room. He knows, like he just has that presence, and he seems much like you said with Suda, a genuine nice guy. Like he had the air about him.
Yeah. So that was kind of an unexpected but awesome moment.
Cool. All right, so now this is all behind you. The work is done for the most part. We're still trying to tweak up some audio stuff that'll be trickling out, but the big stuff is out. You've sat on this for a week now. You've been able to decompress. Are you glad you did this? As press. So you're not saying like if you went as a guest, like,
Yeah. So I know exactly what you're saying. The way that I described it to my wife was here in Atlanta, there's an outdoor music festival called Music Midtown. It's huge. It's like this Woodstock thing. And like 4 or 5 years ago, the Chili Peppers came and highlighted the show.
Sure.
I camped outside their stage for 5 hours to ensure that I had a front row seat to one of my favorite bands. And it rained. And I drug her along with me. And you know what that means. There's no leaving to go to the bathroom. No leaving to get drinks. You'll lose that spot and you'll never get it back. But, 3 hours before time, there's 50,000 people between you and the front of that stage. You'll never get back. Yeah. I'm so glad I did that because it was every bit of awesome, but I don't think I'd ever do it again. And there is a part of me that feels that way about running around as the press. I feel like maybe I bit off more than I could chew. Because one of the things that really made me stand out to the event promoters was I actually had a reputation when I walked in the door because Kevin, you saw my schedule. Yep. I submitted for interview requests with times associated.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm the only person that's ever done that at MomoCon.
That's crazy.
I thought that too. I was like, that's insane. And they were like, no, we just kind of schedule and people come through. And I'm like, I have other things to do. Like, I want to cover these panels. Like, I'm booked at 2:00 tomorrow. Like, I can't. So that kind of set me aside. Actually, when I walked in, Renee was like, that's the guy. These are the guys. I mean, she mentioned, she's like, PSVG. She's like, they brought me on the show. They knew all the answers. I was like, yeah, we were just trying to give you like a boost. We knew, like, we do our homework. So that kind of made us stand out. And it's competitive.
Right.
And, we don't do this for a living. Like, it's not how we make money. And we're not trying to make money. Like, that's not even a goal. So it's always hard when you run up against people that have that mindset, because it's like, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but we have just equal right to be here, even though, like, and like, there's some of that. And I ran into some of that. So some of that I prefer not to even really mess with again. And then also, like, I took my kids on Saturday, and it was great. They got comic books. They got signed by this dude that was Infinity War and Civil War, and like, it was cool. But here is the problem: was I got them down to the exhibit floor before they opened, so I could show them around, because when they opened the show, I only had an hour to be with them before I had to run and do everything else.
Yep.
So, and I didn't get to see half of the panels I wanted to, because I was on the interview circuit or I was on the show floor, and it's just a lot. I mean, it's a lot for one person. You could understand like how a team at like GameStop or IGN splits it all up. And I never really felt like I got a chance to like sit down and really enjoy anything, because I was always like content. Mm-hmm. And, I could imagine MomoCon being 10,000 times more rewarding if I had just bought a ticket, like I had originally planned on doing, and just kind of, and I wouldn't have gotten all the stuff we got. I understand that, and that's awesome. Like, that stuff was great. It's big for us. PSVG goes away in 5 years. Like, we'll forever be like, one of those folks that ever interviewed Suda 51. Like, we did that. That's cool. That's a highlight moment for PSVG. But at the same time, it would have been cool to spend time with my kids. It would have been time to, I would have entered the Smash tournament just to lose, but just to do it, like dumb stuff like that I felt like I couldn't do. Yeah. So some of that, and also like trying not to step on anybody's toes, trying not to like get us banned for life on the concert, so like, trying not to do something that screwed something up so egregious that we were remembered for it. That was also a thing, like constant. It's just kind of, I was kind of wired like the entire time, just on the go.
It's tough, because I mean, you gotta remember, like, this was not only Donnie's first con, this was his first press con. So like, your introduction to a con was like, hey, you're working this. And it's not easy. That was what I was going to ask, is would you do it again? But you already answered that one. And my thought process is we do want to do more of these. I think, we're reaching out to some other conventions, and we'd love to obviously do like a PAX or something like that, where it's a little more geared towards our wheelhouse. But I think the biggest thing we learned is, like you said, business cards is important. Our audio, ways of capturing audio needs to be reevaluated. And then I think the other biggest thing is to not travel alone. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this, Donnie.
Or, there was a part of me that's like, having known everything that I know having known everything that I do now, I could have just cut that schedule in half and probably ended up with somewhere around the same output.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I probably could have got a couple of those, panels in and stuff, because I was actually genuinely interested in about half of them. They were really cool. Like, some of that stuff was really cool. And here's the funny thing for anybody that's coming to MomoCon, they'll all be back apparently. I think Troy and Nolan have committed for next year. Suda's committed for next year. Like, they'll all be back. So like, you'll have another chance. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'll do it. I think maybe I was talking to Caroline, like maybe make her do it. Maybe we'll both get in. Maybe I'll just do like one. Maybe I'll hop in for an interview or two. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's true. If we can get, you and Caroline, maybe even Brian involved, and just get like 3 press passes, like
Coach could come.
Right. You have that. Yeah, that's true, because Coach won't be far away either. I mean, you did a great job establishing that character. Like, oh, hey, here's this guy. He knows what he's doing. And our connection with Renee, if we keep that alive, we could certainly make a better stab at it next year for sure.
And, my thing about it was also like a feeling of like indebtedness to MomoCon.
Right. Yes. Totally.
Like Renee, it's like, no. I gotta do it all. Like, that's why, like, I gotta make them, happy that they gave us a try. I was definitely like trying in that mode. Like, here's all the stuff I did. Like, I'm doing all this stuff for you. I tried hard. But yeah, I mean, So as I say, because all of our other podcasts would love to do it, and they'd love to work, and they'd probably work harder than I did. And I don't know. I often I do think there's some of that. My wife, I think she probably agrees with me. There's a lot of that. A lot of what's involved in this isn't really what I'm good at. You know, so in a lot of ways, this was me kind of getting out of my comfort zone a little, because it's not really, you know, my forte. Like, let's go to a hall full of thousands of people and you stand around and just socialize with strangers. It's not really my thing.
Sure.
You know, so, but it was fun. It was fun. And a lot of it was, you know, even some of the socializing, some of the pictures I took waiting in lines, talking to folks was really, really great. I had to meet so many people are doing so much of the same stuff. The amount of people that have YouTubes and podcasts, like everybody. It's not even press anymore. It's just people. Now you're just people that come to the exhibit are doing it. So it's cool.
That's true. That's true. It's definitely not easy. It's definitely not for everyone, but we wanted to give all you listeners or viewers out there an inside look as to what goes on behind the scenes and what we kind of went through to make this a reality for you guys and generate that content, you know, more so Donnie than anybody else. But it's just a matter of getting it done and getting out there, getting our feet wet. You know, once again, we try to push our boundaries a little bit and do something maybe outside the norm of what you've heard in the podcast community, because like Donnie says, everybody's doing podcasts. Everybody has a YouTube channel, everybody has a Twitch channel, and you got to do something a little bit different to distinguish yourself. And this was our first event. Yeah.
Sorry. We interviewed Xbox.
Oh, right. Yes.
Dropped today. We interviewed Xbox. That's an interesting story to tell.
Yeah.
She was one of the first people that I identified as I want to talk to these people. I want to talk to Suda, Troy, Nolan, and Sarah Condi, ID at Xbox. Nobody knows her by name, but you know, like I saw ID at Xbox. I was like, that's a huge program. It's a brand. They're awesome. Let's do this. Yeah. I asked for an interview from the con, was denied. She is not here for press purposes. It's like, well, that sucks. So I start back channeling, start doing some Twittering, start like looking up some emails, start finding some stuff, finally get a hold of her. Hey, we'd love to interview. We're this small blog, but you know, we love Microsoft. We have a Microsoft show. Like, let's talk Xbox. I got to go to my PR people. PR people come back. This is cool. This is interesting. What do you want to talk about? Submit your questions to us. All right. Here are all my questions I want to ask. All right. So and they're right back. Some of these we're not going to even answer. They just strike them off immediately. And then they come back and they go, all right, we'll answer them, but in written form. Like they wanted to, and I was like, that's cool. We'll take whatever we can get. I was like, but guys, I think you're missing an opportunity here. Like, we're really a podcast. Like, audio is where we are. I'd love to get, I'd love to get audio. I was like, I'd love to get video. And they were like, absolutely no cameras. So like do not turn the camera on her at all. I was like, geez, guys. And they go, all right, so we're going to do an audio interview. She's going to read the answers to the questions. She had very little wiggle room to like riff off of.
Right. Yeah.
Like she got two questions, one on the front, one on the end that she could like free reign.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was kind of, you know, press speak. And then and then they go, all right, she'll be there Saturday in a black hoodie at 2:00. No. I'm sorry. Saturday, black hoodie at 7:00. Go find her here at this location. Fantastic. I'm like, I'll take what we can get. This is gonna be cool because she's a cool, like, if you don't follow her, Sarah Cat Condi on Twitter, she's actually really cool. She's a cool girl. So I'm hanging out and everything, and I just finished the Suda interview. Just finished 3 minutes after, like, he's still in the room.
Yeah,
he's still there. And no, I get an email. Hey, we completely forgot. She is totally unavailable at that time. If you want this interview, you got to get to her. You got 10 minutes. Same location and space. So I go, I'm looking. I can't find her anywhere. My wife looking. I'm like, what in the world? She emails me. She's like, hey, I'm over here. And I go, well, these people told me you're over here with a black hoodie. And she's like, I'm actually over here in a purple shirt. and it's just like, man, I understand. Microsoft is huge. They don't want anybody saying anything to anybody, you know, but man, don't put people at cons then, you know. Like, you're kind of breaking the whole thing with all of this. So, but I fought hard for that one. That was that 8 minutes of audio interview. 4 days of trying.
I know, right? It's crazy.
And she was cool. The unrecorded before and after hangout with Sarah was awesome.
Fair enough. We'll have to get Nathan to have you on the show to talk about it. Hear that, Nathan? Nathan.
Nathan.
Anyway, we're stepping on Shrunk Capri territory right there now. So let's move on here. So yes, check out all the content. Everything is out there for the most part. Hit up the YouTube channel. You'll see it there. PSVG.blog. You can find it there. And obviously all the audio stuff is in our feed. So just hit that up as well. Check out what you want to see. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like, what you think you want to see next time if we're able to get our feed into some of these conventions and see what happens on there. Donnie, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Playin Nintendo. And over there in the Discord, the links are on our podcast page and our blog at psvg.blog.
Yes, join the Discord because we have a lot of fun there, and there's a lot of people in our Discord, and we kind of talk about all sorts of things, and it's fun. It's fun. Join the community. We love that. We love the interaction. That's one of our favorite parts. So you can find me on the Twitterverse at PSVGKevin. Follow the podcast at PSVG if you're not already. And I think that wraps up our coverage for MomoCon. So thank you all for listening, and we hope to do it again soon. But more importantly, we ask that you never